if chocolate isn't the answer, could you repeat the question? Hello, I'm Pat Coakley, and welcome to PodSnacks Art of the Diet, the weekly podcast that each week tries to ask the right question about how to maintain a significant weight loss. You can access all the episodes on www.artofthediet.com. Hello there, this is Pat Coakley, and it's March 2019. Why is that relevant? Other than it is reality. It also is something that I have to take a personal little trot around the success track and say that it was 10 years ago that I decided to stop the BS and to lose the 60 pounds. And so that means that I've been maintaining a 60-pound weight loss for, I'm into my 9th year. So get the party hats. So I thought I'd do 10 years in review. And for those of you who know me, through slogging through almost 4 years now of podcasts and blog posts, I have just dried the dishes with my Nancy Pelosi Kick-Ass Journal dish towel. Because creativity and a sense of humor have gotten me through all of my life. But in particular, I really relied upon it for the weight loss. And since November 2016, it has been a food group. I cannot live without humor. So I've been learning to draw on YouTube videos. Now, people, I cannot draw, okay? It's not like this is an innate talent I have. Yes, I'm creative. Yes, I have a good imagination. But fine motor drawing skills, But I've always wanted to do it. And I thought, you know what? Let me try to just do enough so that I can make some cartoons or something about this crazy world we're in and I'm in. And so one of the first things I did was to draw a journal. And I decided to draw a stiletto heel, red, with a shapely ankle, and added a pink background. So we do have a colorful dish towel. And then uploaded it to a place that makes fabric out of designs. So I ordered it. It came, and it makes me laugh every day. So I have the Nancy Pelosi Kick-Ass Journal, and I'm also creating the Robert Mueller dish towel, which basically depicts him as a saint. So what do you know after listening to this intro? You know my politics, but most of you listening already know that. And if you don't share the politics and find it offensive, I understand you shutting this down. Because, honest to God, it doesn't get any less obvious as I go along. Okay, so I'm going to do 10 years in review, and I think it's going to be one of my shorter podcasts because I really have boiled down my success in weight management in this 10-year period to 2 words: begin again. Because that's what I have done for 10 years in successfully maintaining the weight loss, and which I did not do in other periods of my life where I had lost the weight but regained it. At some point in the past, I just put the white flag up the flagpole and said, I can't do it anymore, and did not begin again. So, short and sweet, something you really don't associate with me, but it is true. And it also coincides with the past 9 months where I've had some health challenges that now I'm managing. And part of what helped me manage the health challenge was developing a meditation practice, which, since I have the ADHD of the art spectrum, in other words, I try a new artistic challenge almost daily, and I perfect some of them to a human degree, but more often than not, the scrap pile of my creative ventures really is, the pyramid size. And my successes are a little shack along the bottom of the pyramid. And coincidentally, who knew? Meditation practice relies on you beginning again. And the key to it, since we all have, just a train ride of thoughts rushing through us at most times. But what usually happens is a whole lot of judgment, self-judgment, along with the trains of thought. Oh, I didn't do that well. Oh, Lord, here I am again. Oh, my God, I have to lose these 2 pounds again. Really. And the meditation practice has really emphasized the absolute necessity to begin again, because you can't simply maintain a meditative focus for minutes at a time without realizing that you get interfered with thought-wise almost regularly. So that you have to just accept that beginning again is part of it, and not to be pointing the finger at yourself going, you are such an idiot. You cannot keep a focus for 30 seconds. And that voice, that sarcastic voice, really has been my companion voice for 74 years. And I've had to temper it in order to do the meditation practice. And I realized it's a relief to talk to myself in a voice that just says, yeah, Pat, you have to begin again, because you just have not been focusing on your breath, on your body, on your head. You've just been, traveling the solar system, God knows where. So I find it interesting that the words begin again, that I have used successfully in the past 10 years and really did not do in the previous years contains all the wisdom I need to go forward for however many more years I have. If my goal is to maintain my weight, which it is, begin again. And somehow or other, for my mind, it helps me focus on simple mantras, not complex. I really don't want to analyze why I've had a weight problem all my life, or even why I've, been able to alter it in a pretty significant way the past 10 years. I just simply want to know what works. And beginning again has been an accountability lever that I have pulled literally weekly, if not daily, for 10 years. So that's my number one nugget of wisdom. And I think the most important thing that I remember from that first year of losing the 60 pounds was that I needed a diversion from the obsessional nature of focusing once and for all on losing it and following, at that time, a Weight Watcher plan. And P.S., you all know I don't recommend certain diets or regimes because it is so varied and so individual, and there's so many of them. Hello. But when I lost my weight, I chose Weight Watchers, and I chose to do the meetings, physical meetings, not online. And the reason I did it, although I was averse to going to the meetings, was that apparently statistics said that one could be a bit more successful if you physically showed up to do the meeting. And so I said, if I'm serious about this, and I was 64 at the time, obviously, if I've had a roller coaster weight issue for 64 years, I'm simply not the master of this. I simply don't know enough to keep avoiding this roller coaster. So I sort of had my one humility moment and said, maybe I need a little more help with this than I think. So I did go to the meetings, and I went to the meetings for 7 or 8 years on a weekly basis, but have not been going for the last 3. And I also, it's interesting, the latest iteration of Weight Watchers now calls the meetings studio. Make an appointment to go to the Weight Watchers, or the WW studio. And I think, studio? Seriously? It sounds like they're trying to gentrify the neighborhood, with lattes. People, it's a meeting. And some of us need it at different times. And as far as I know, there's no yoga studio attached to it or meditation studio. It is still a meeting, but they've decided to call it studio, I guess because there's a negative connotation with meeting. So you can see my impatience with stupidity is just increasing as I get older, okay? But at any rate, back in the day of 2009, a Weight Watcher served a purpose for me. It does not any longer, because I developed accountability habits that I am accountable to myself, not to a a third person and a scale. But the two things that I really do without fail, which is attributable to going to that meeting 10 years ago, was that every Tuesday I weigh myself. Now, I used to need that third person to sort of really be accountable and not BS myself. And that's why I was never successful online, because I would just, negotiate with myself the weigh-in day. If it started out to be Monday, then I'd say, okay, I'm going to do it on Wednesday after I've had a couple of good days. And then I wouldn't do it on Wednesday either. So I, at that point in my life, needed to pony up, put my big girl pants on, and go in and be weighed by somebody else. And that worked very well for me, because accountability was an issue. And for years, I just simply avoided the whole number on the scale. And I know it's not politically correct these days to focus in on the number on the scale. And while I get the direction of that thought, the self-acceptance part, for me, I have to focus in on that number, because years of avoiding it really did not serve me well. And now 10 years of focusing on it, but not obsessing about it, has led to better health, better mobility, and the ability to deal with inevitable health problems without also having the added burden of too much weight. So I want to say to you that when one starts a program to lose a significant amount of weight, a certain amount of obsessiveness is just necessary. But you also need to have some relief from it. And I used my creative skills to get away from that obsessive world. And I've told this a million times, and we'll just state it again. I didn't like vegetables. I liked fruit but didn't eat it. And what I decided to do was photograph both of these food groups in the hopes that if I looked at them as I would something to photograph, something of beauty, the angles, the textures, the colors, the spatial relationship, I might appreciate them for something other than a should food. I should eat them, but I don't. My mantra back then was, I buy fruit and eat cookies. And, I don't know how much fruit I threw away or vegetables. I just didn't get on the, gee, these really taste good train until about a year into it. But anyway, that creative outlet offered me a perspective that truly led to my looking forward to these food groups. And it also gave me a relief from the obsessiveness of getting used to managing your food in a serious way and understanding the dynamics. So I totally recommend creativity as a way of add creativity to your food groups, and whatever your goal is, it's going to go better. And I also have to say that surprisingly to me, and that's why I'm still doing it after 9 months, and it is now as regular as the one accountability trick I have of weighing myself on Tuesdays. I have a daily meditation practice that began when I was trying to manage some anxiety and didn't want to go the medication route because medication seems to mess me up. So I said, well, let me try this. I've heard it, other people be successful with it. It seems to be talked about a bit more these days. And there's apps that one can use, so you have control over it. So I started, maybe 5 minutes a day, and I thought, wow, I'm really being successful at this, 5 minutes a day. And gradually, over the course of 9 months, I now can do it upwards to an hour and a half, sometimes never 90 minutes straight, but, a half hour here, 10 minutes there, 30 minutes some other place. And I truly see the benefit of it. It provides me a change of my mind state, which is necessary when you're losing weight. It's necessary when you're maintaining your weight. And it's also necessary in living your life, because the trains of thought take over and you start picking at the scabs of your life and future worries, and you just get deer in the headlights. And I found that this really interrupted that flow of thought that ultimately ran away with itself and leaves you in an anxious state. So for those of you who have thought about doing it and, maybe just need a little bit of encouragement, give it a try. Give it a try, because I think it is something that honestly I can see myself doing as long as, I've got the mental capacity to do any habits whatsoever. And I do them in a habitual way, which is also something that I have learned in the 10 years, that habits really do make my life easier. The simple one of weighing myself every Tuesday, now the daily one of I begin my day after a cup of coffee with the meditation without fail. And there's a inflexibility to it in the sense that I do it every day. But there's flexibility in it in that, well, maybe I do it for 20 minutes one day, and maybe I do it 50 minutes the next day. But I do it every day, and I choose to do it at the same time every day, because I've found that I'm a creature of habit, despite never thinking of myself as that. In fact, probably saying, habits are restrictive, I have to have my choice in when to do things. And the fact of the matter is that is true. I do have to have choices about things, but I also need to be anchored in some way. And I have just found that these two habits of weighing myself every Tuesday and meditation practice every morning and other times during the day when possible have been really nice fundamentals to the beginning again mantra that has led to some success, finally, with respect to weight maintenance, and also in terms of achieving some creative goals that have been spinning around in my head and not being executed. So that's my story for this month, the month of March, and I'm hoping that I'll continue doing this on a monthly basis, and I'm hoping that it'll be of value to you. I still have yet to put together my little Art of the Diet book, but who knows? Maybe after the Robert Mueller dish towel. P.S. I depict him as a saint with a halo. Okay. Who knows? Maybe I'll get that together in the next few months. I would like to do that, as there's been a lot of wisdom shared here by some of my interviews and with other folks, and so maybe I'll put that down in my to-do notebook, which, P.S., I have now a to-do notebook. Every day I put things in it. Now, every day I don't check everything off, but it's there. Okay, so over and out for now, as my father used to say on his ham radio, and I wish you well.